Hit it, Daddy-O.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
A little early. Whoops.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived to hear from the man himself, Ariel Helwani. Live from the Vox Studios in beautiful New York City, it's On the Nose.
Did I?
And now, to answer your questions, get out of your seats and on your feet because here he is, Ariel Helwani.
Yeah. Sorry about that. You know what? Who has the time, Frank? Who has the time? A lot of questions. I see 144. So again, we were going to be joined by Aljamain Sterling at 2:30. It's not going to be 3:30, which means we do On the Nose a little earlier this week, which I'm excited about because usually I'm very tired by the end of the show and I don't have the pep in my step to answer the questions with the utmost honesty and authenticity and integrity and panache, if you will. So we'll do that for the next hour. Then we'll be joined by Aljo, the reigning defending UFC bantamweight champion. Then we'll be joined by Kai Kara-France, who had the massive win over Askar Askarov this past weekend. Then we'll be joined by GC to wrap the whole thing off. And then we're off to Dallas. Not today, tomorrow morning, where we shall be covering WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania that I ever get to cover as a journalist. Been to 2 as a fan, 18 and 35. But never there to actually cover it. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. ArielHelwani.substack.com is where you can leave the questions. Alas, it is too late. Let's get to it. Breaking news, Frank. El Cubano first. First and foremost, congratulations on the championship. Now for my question. If you were to be a GM today for a promotion and all active fighters are free agents, wow, who would you sign to be the face of your promotion today? Wow. Consider skill, marketability, popularity, age, availability, health, possible length of career left, and any off or on-field issues when making your choice. Also, would love to know New York Rick's choice as well, even though it's Wednesday. That's a tough one. I'd like to get GC's thoughts on this. Putting you on the spot. I'm going to think here for a sec. There's a name that came to mind right off the top, but you have to consider all those things. If New York Rick is around, he can weigh in as well via his Slack machine. GC, you got one?
Yeah, what are we doing? GM of a promotion?
I mean, were you not? What were you doing back there?
I'm reading WrestleMania stuff.
Oh, okay. Right. Sorry. This man is El Cubano. This man.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. New York Rick has thrown. I thought he was going to say this guy. Anyway, GM for a promotion. All active fighters are free agents. You could pick one to be the face of your promotion right now. Consider skill, marketability, popularity, age, availability, health, possible length of career left. Not an easy one.
Yeah, like do you take a current champion?
New York Rick is going with Khamzat Chimaev.
That was my knee-jerk reaction. His personality, the way he's building his YouTube, the potential of becoming a champion.
I'm going with Izzy.
I think I'm gonna go with Rick here. I think I'm gonna go with Khamzat.
Yeah, I don't know, the health issues. Still, the jury's still out. All right, so there you go. Khamzat, Izzy. Frank, you want to weigh in on this?
No, I don't.
Okay, perfect. Newman. Hello, Ariel. Hello, Newman. I don't have a question this week. Rather, I'd like to propose a suggestion that could revolutionize the On the Nose segment as we know it. Wow. How about that? What about instead of sorting by chronological order, you sort by top first, which will list the questions by how many likes they get, rather than the order in which the questions are posted. Your loyal subscribers will like the questions we want to hear from the most. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, let's do it. Starting next week, the ones that get the most will go first, and we'll see how it goes. Nico, ça va, Ariel? Oui, ça va. A couple weeks ago, you and I agreed Nathan Diaz is an underrated chess player in the game. By the way, I hope someone hot tagged me today. Oh boy. But I won't tell you why. While Nate's situation doesn't look great from the outset, as you pointed out on Monday, could it be we mere peasants? Who are you calling a peasant? are unable to recognize another 244-esque power play by Nathan Machiavelli Diaz. No, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry at this point. Guy wants to fight. Guy is frustrated. UFC is keeping him on ice in hopes of making the trilogy fight. I had a little soliloquy about this on Monday. Don't need to get all into it again, but I mean, I hope that they meet and figure this out. I don't think anyone who is a fan of Nathan Diaz wants to see, and by the way, it is Nathan Diaz, you jabrones. That's his freaking name. Go look at his freaking social media. It's Nathan Diaz. His friends, you know how to spot the noobs? It's the people who say it's Nate, not Nathan. If you know anything about him and his brother and his relationships and his inner circle, they all call him Nathan. Anyway, I hope they meet at some point and figure this out, because even if you're a fan, you can't be enjoying this. Lewis, my man Ariel, good afternoon. I wanted to get your take on fighters' additional income streams. Some personalities within the fight game lend themselves to streaming YouTube channels, others sell product or merchandise. With so many branching out into other ventures, do you think you could ever reach a precipice where the promotion turns around and says, we want to cut. You built your name off our brand, cut us in. It's a negative viewpoint, but it's been a week of fighters receiving shady practices. Much love, Lewis. Dare I say, this is the case in WWE. And so I will actually, look, again, to the people out there who say too negative, too negative, too negative. And again, I would then say it's actually positive because I'm trying to argue for things in favor of fighters. In WWE, you can't do these things. Twitch, Cameo. I think they let them do Cameo like a couple times a year, but this was look it up. Actually, you could argue that in WWE they have less rights and less freedoms than in UFC. So I hope it doesn't get to that point, and I respect the fact that the UFC allows them to have YouTube channels. You know, they do things that obviously I wish weren't being done with the sponsors and all that, but got to give them a shout out on this one. And it wouldn't make sense and it wouldn't be fair because they are independent contractors, right? That's what they argue. You should be allowed to do Twitch, YouTube, Cameo, things like that. I hope they don't try to replicate what, some of the WWE wrestlers have been complaining about or have had to deal with. Matt in Montreal. Can you give a shout out to my cat, Pinju? She passed away yesterday. It was my first cat, my bestie. I'm sorry, Matt. Shout out to Pinju. Sorry that this happened. My condolences. He writes, she was an amazing cat. She passed on while sleeping on a blanket mounted in the cupboard. As good a way as any. Oh, that's a bummer. I'm sorry, Matt. Hope you're doing okay hanging in there. Nim. Hey, Ariel. Happy belated to Mrs. Helwani. Really enjoyed the GOAT GSP on last week's show. Monday's show. And his rationale, and thank you, and advice about why he kept his personal life so private. Yeah, that was fascinating, right? Was so compelling as it showed how cerebral he was about his opponents and mental warfare. It made me wonder, what is the most insightful thing / clever insight you've ever heard an MMA fighter say about their approach to the fight game? Man, there's been so many. Again, some of these most ever questions are tough. I'll tell you the one that came to mind right off the top was that line from Dominic Cruz after he beat TJ Dillashaw to regain the title. I asked him, is this the happiest day of your life? His response, no. The happiest day of my life was when I realized I didn't need a belt to be happy. Man, think about how that must have changed his mindset. His raison d'être, right? You're no longer chasing the belt for happiness. You're happy while on the journey. And at the end of the journey, that particular journey, you get a little cherry on top. Complete shift in the way you treat the daily grind, the way you view the daily grind, the way you act. And we've seen this. Guys who are obsessed with the belt, typically crumble, stumble before they get to the belt. But if you don't allow the belt to be your engine, your fuel, your motivation, it just so happens to be a part of the journey, it's a different way to look at things. And so that's always stuck with me as one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard someone say, especially someone in his position. Taylor, you've called the UFC's offer to Nate to fight Khamzat a bogus offer. Why is Nate Diaz automatically exempt from fighting Khamzat Chimaev? Fight makes no sense. It's not that he's exempt, but again, think about this. If promoter X was working with Nathan Diaz, let's say Eddie Hearn promoted Nathan Diaz. Do you think Eddie Hearn or any promoter, has nothing to do with Eddie, but I'm just giving you the most famous one right now, would try to book his guy in a fight with someone like Khamzat? Given the matchup, given the skill set, given where they're at in their respective careers, given who Khamzat has fought up until this point, nowhere near the stature, the name of a Nathan Diaz, why in the world would this make any sense for Diaz? Nathan Diaz in the world of boxing would never entertain that fight in a gazillion years. It would never even be brought to his attention. Why is it a bogus offer? The only reason it was offered was twofold. This is a shoot. The only reason it was offered was either A, if you're going to leave us, you're going to leave on a loss, or B, you're going to turn this down, your contract will be extended. Those are the only reasons. There was never a true, genuine interest. There was not a true, genuine demand to see this fight. So the only reason it's offered is for those two reasons. There's two, so only reasons, and that's why it's bogus. If there was genuine interest, if they were 2 and 3, if they were 3 and 5, if they were 7 and 8, if the fight made sense, if there was demand, if they fought each other in the back, if they had been going back and forth, then yeah, it's legit. None of that happened. None of that was the case. That's why it's bogus. Burns is fighting him, and you've expected Colby and Usman to as well. Well, he has to beat Burns. And I've said on this show, shout out to Gilbert, because he doesn't really have to take this fight. If the rankings mean anything, you don't have to take this fight. Gilbert also isn't on the last fight of his deal. Gilbert has already fought against Usman for the belt, isn't getting another crack at the belt. It actually jolts his career. Gilbert's skill set matches up better, let's be honest, against Khamzat. And there might be a little Canelo Mayweather thought process to this one. If you're Gilbert Burns, catch the guy on the way up as opposed to when he's at the top and, get all the brownie points for it. But you can't, Gilbert's career is not Nathan Diaz's career. He's not on the last fight of his deal. He's not the name. He hasn't been at the time. He doesn't have the same skills. Like it's apples to apples. Apples to oranges. And I have never said that Diaz deserves Usman. Never, ever said that. But Poirier, sure. Tony, sure. Those types of fights. Since when are we giving fan favorites easy fights on the way out? I mean, so just because it hasn't happened means it should never happen? And I'm not saying no one gets an easy fight in the UFC, but why would you begrudge Diaz for not wanting this fight? And I just told you the real reasons. Anyway, I'm arguing with, a computer screen here. Johnny. Again, when you know how the sausage is made, and I understand not everyone has that insight, that's why I sit here and try to explain, educate, you'll realize it is what it is. New subscriber, been a fan for years, decided to dip my finger in the nose. Thank you. What's the fight you're most looking forward to on April 9th? 273. Khamzat Burns. Because of the style matchup, because it's the biggest fight for Khamzat, because Burns is so good on the ground, because he's evolved into a great striker. Yeah. Also, is it bad that I think Gilbert has absolutely no shot against Khamzat? No. Khamzat's incredible. He's a freaking beast. Thanks for all that you do. I'm happy to be a part of the Helwani army. Yeah. Any news for the International Fight Week 276 card? Right from Tsunami. No, I mean, I'd be surprised at this point if we don't see either Izzy or Usman on the card. Maybe Pena, Nunes. Izzy would be against Cannonier, Usman against Edwards. Last I heard was looking like Izzy versus Cannonier, but not a done deal. Wheel. Happy Wednesday, Mr. Ariel Helwani. Started watching when DC and Helwani started dominating the world. Who's someone you'd like to work with in the future? Cheers. I'm assuming that's a fighter. I mean, I feel like DC and Chael were the best teammates, best partners because they didn't have egos. There was no jealousy. I think we did a great job of putting each other over and being good teammates. I don't know if I'll ever have, like, we never stabbed each other in the back. We never talked smack about, there's a lot of talking smack in this business. There's a lot of insecurity in this business. There's a lot of jealousy in this business, a lot. And the business kind of breeds that and promotes that, fosters that. And I hate it. And I experienced it a lot in a previous stop. So those two guys were the best. And I don't know if I'll ever have teammates like that in terms of like fighters. Obviously I have colleagues, everyone in MMA fighting is tremendous, but I'm talking about, you're asking me about fighters, turned broadcasters. I don't know if there's two better guys than them for that. And in that spot and to work with. Mine for MMA. Salam alaikum, brother Ariel. Hope all is well. I'm a huge fan of all your work and have followed your career and think you're the GOAT. Wow, thank you very much. My question has to do with my guy, Cryptic Connor. Don't you think he sounds kind of like the legend Howard Stern? Oh, I thought he was talking about Conor McGregor. I think he's talking about Conor Burks. Misspelled. This is the rare time that everyone spells Conor McGregor's name as Conner. This dude spelled Conor Burks' name Conor. He says you have a great commentating voice. If you ever wanted to go that route, what do you think, Ariel? Thanks again. Shout out to you as well. And then Matmo says that GC's voice soothes his soul. Have you ever thought about doing play-by-play or commentary or anything like that?
I've thought about it, but I don't know. I don't think so.
It's a tremendous voice.
I appreciate that.
Interesting that you went the production route rather than the on-air route.
Yeah. I would have had to move to like rural Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were just like, get me to game night.
Exactly.
Right.
I was literally in rural Minnesota when I got a call from ESPN.
Is that true?
Yes. I was at the Mall of America about to fly back to Atlanta after going to a one traffic light city in Minnesota for an on-air job. And I almost took it.
And were you working there?
No, I went there for a job interview. They flew me out.
Who was it with?
Some radio station. And like, I'm talking the middle of nowhere. One hotel, one traffic light. The only restaurant was a Subway. They were like, are you cool with it being below zero for like weeks at a time?
At least they asked you that.
Yeah, Mall of America, by the way, historic site of the first ever WCW Nitro. Did you know that?
Nope.
Yeah. Nate Diaz, shout out from Delco. Where's Delco? Anyone know?
Nope.
Nate got robbed against Clay Guida. Joe Daddy was scared to actually fight, thought it was Grappler's Quest. Got robbed in the Gray Maynard rematch. Don't think Dong Young Kim did enough to warrant a win. Rory handled him. Benson handled him. Thompson fought very scared. What the hell is this? RDA smashed him. Beat Michael Johnson. Choked Connor. Okay, you're going through the whole damn Nathan Diaz resume here? What was the point? Pride Nate beat Leon. Technically, he's on a 6-fight winning streak right now and really only has about 4 losses. Okay, thank you. Is Petr Yan considered a heel? No, I don't think so. By the way, Petr Yan very soon could be the best fighter on the planet, pound for pound. He's that good, in my opinion. Pereira versus Strickland is absolute fire. Yeah, I saw that. Fun matchup. A little surprised that Pereira is getting pushed that quickly. And I'm surprised to a degree that Strickland has taken him. But again, there might be some, let me get the guy before he gets to the top. GC, you were very excited about this matchup when it was announced.
Yeah.
Why?
Strickland Pereira? Oh,
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be sick.
I know, but aren't you surprised after his last performance that he got bumped so high up the...
Yeah, like I feel like they're trying to move him along, and if he beats Strickland, then maybe one more, and then they try and get him to fight Izzy.
Yeah. I was hoping for Strickland versus Vettori, but I guess they're buds.
Well, they also got Vettori Whitaker.
Right. And then I was hoping for Strickland versus Paulo Costa.
That would have been good. I just want, like, Pereira and Strickland are both guys I want to fight strikers. So
Right. Strickland versus Paulo Costa, loser has to get off social media. Good breakdown here from EK. Howard Stern, Ariel Helwani, Robin Quivers, GC, Fred, Mysterious Frank, Fafafui, New York Craig, Fafafohai. Any of you get those references or no? I feel like Frank does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although you don't do as many, drops as Fred does.
I'm sorry.
Bruce, hey Ariel, thoughts on what to do with the heavyweight division while Ngannou's on the shelf? Miocic. By the way, I wouldn't be surprised if Stipe never fights again, if I'm being honest, especially if Jones isn't coming back. And I don't know, every day I see a post on, MMA Fighting's Instagram about a John Jones tweet. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. We're approaching, 2.5 years. Like, what are we talking about? Can someone explain this to me? Anyway, Jones out for now. Stipe probably waiting for Jones or a title shot. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm down with Curtis versus Cyril, and I'm down with Aspinall versus Ty. It's right there. It's a fun little quartet of youngsters. Or I'm down with Gane versus Aspinall and Blades versus Ty. Or I'm down with Ty versus Gane and Blades versus Aspinall. Blades versus Aspinall would be pretty damn cool, right? With Aspinall's BJJ. I'm down with any variation of those four guys fighting each other next. Liam. Happening, Ariel. Looking proper good today, probably. I was just about to say, how do you know how I look? And then he said, probably. So you wrote this earlier. Paul Craig asked Dana for an event in Glasgow against Anthony Smith. Unfortunately, it seems like Smith is set to fight Ankalaev. My question is, if he wasn't, do you think an event this year would happen in Glasgow? I mean, I don't think Smith's booking has anything to do with them going to Glasgow or not. Sorry if the question is shite. It's not. I mean, maybe they'll go. It sounds like they're going to go back to the UK. It seems like Aspinall knew something that we didn't, so stay tuned. By the way, in case you're wondering, I had my butternut squash soup before the show, and now I'm starving. Greetings, Mr. Helwani. What is your favorite stylistic matchup to watch in the UFC, and has grappling grown on you over the years? I've always appreciated grappling. I've always been someone who's like, like the Curtis Blades thing. Oh, you wrestle too much. What? You're allowed to do that. Get over it. I mean, GSP loved him, and it's not exactly like he was, freaking Edson Barbosa in his early days doing spinning wheel kicks and stuff. So I appreciate all of it. Obviously, the striking is fun. Obviously, you have, we've had amazing strikers over the years like Anderson and Connor and John Jones. Kane was amazing, how he blended the two. Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz. So, I mean, obviously you're going to be, but I've always appreciated the grapplers, like a Ryan Hall I love, like a Damian Maia, much respect. There's just been so many over the years. Question for GC from Dave in the North Bay. GC, you find yourself accosted by 3 big goons in a dumpy dive in rural Atlanta. Which UFC fighter in their physical prime is your dream wingman that helps you fight them off?
Wow. I wish I had known this before. I mean, I'm going to go with a heavyweight.
Yeah. Someone in the comments offers a suggestion, but I don't want to, see your thinking here.
I mean, right now, do I not go with the heavyweight champ? If he's healthy from knee surgery, Francis Ngannou, I feel
now
like
this is in their physical prime, so you could pick 2000
physical prime,
20 Francis or whatever.
Yeah, I'll take Francis.
I'm taking Davison Figueiredo.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Rose Namajunas.
Rose, yeah, she'd scare everyone just by standing there like. Good day, MMA Hour Crew.
Or give me Yuri.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be punching trees, yeah.
Yeah, with the freaking, Jan Blachowicz, legendary Polish power. Got a few short questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's from David. But if you're implying that the Nate retirement talk is all tactics and not serious, so that being said, in your opinion, is Diaz still likely to get a new contract? TBD. It's all games at this point. It's gamesmanship, chess, if you will. Is a Diaz-Poirier bout still the most likely bout to get done? I'm losing faith. This is what he says. I think if it was up to them, they would buy their time for the Conor trilogy. The problem is we don't know when Conor's going to be available. I think that's their top choice. Is there any chance Barclays Center gets a UFC event this year? Haven't heard it, but wouldn't say no. It's still early in the year. Is the reason we sometimes don't get pay-per-view buy numbers revealed because the event didn't sell well? No, we'll never get it because they don't want the fighters to know the numbers and use that against them. GC, wow, look at this question. How bad would you beat Ariel in a one-on-one in basketball?
11-0. That's
You
or
really
I guess
think
it would just be 7-0. I'd skunk you.
Wow, you really think so? That's great. I was always actually a better one-on-one player than a 5-on-5.
Though I would say I would need some time. Since I moved to New York, I haven't found
You think I'm playing in the
court.
free? I mean, who am I playing against?
You're out in the driveway. I know it.
I'm freaking, elbows, posting up, boxing out. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say little tricks. You know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's my mentality, okay? I come from the Charles Oakley School of Basketball.
I'm only like 6'1", but sneaky post moves.
You're more of a
Sneaky.
shooter. You're more of a Jonas Jerebko type. Corner 3. That's your spot. That's what I think. You're not getting down and dirty in the paint. You're not taking charges.
That's what
You're
I'm saying.
not boxing out.
Shooting is my bread and butter. Sneaky post moves, and I'm going to need those in one-on-one.
Shalom, Ariel, boxing blogger. As a host of many big spectacles yourself, thank you. Although I don't think I've hosted many big spectacles. How do you think Chris Rock handled the incident at the Oscars with Will Smith? I thought he handled it pretty much as good as you could possibly hope someone in his spot could handle a situation like that. Got slapped in the face on live TV pretty hard, didn't make a fuss, didn't fight back, didn't punch back, didn't slap back, made a joke and moved on. You could tell he was a little rattled, moved on. And then he apologizes afterwards. Did you see this, GC? He apologized afterwards. Will did too. I don't think Chris Rock had anything to apologize for.
Beyond the apologies, I'm more concerned about the sit-down interview and whether that happens within a week.
Oh, yeah. So what was that? March 27th?
It was Sunday, so yeah. April 3rd.
3 more days. Let's see if... he was Eric was very confident.
He
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah,
he gave the New York Rick Mr.
So
Monday
by
afternoon guarantee.
This time next week, the interview is already out there, aired. We've all digested it. It's going to be great.
Sitting down together.
Together, yeah. Maybe at the red table, maybe not. My biggest takeaway from the Patty situation, he adds, was thinking about all the fighters who lose, can't get sponsorships. Vargas, 30-something-year-old fighter who's yet to see his career take off, likely only made $12K too, probably will never fight again in the promotion. Fair, but let's also be fair. No one was there to see Kazula Vargas. The issue with the whole thing, and it's 100% fair, but the issue is the guys who are drawing the crowds, drawing the attention, drawing the media, drawing the ticket sales, the streams, the buys, all that deserve a bigger piece of the pie. It's just the way it goes. Olajuwon Dream, what's up, my man? Afternoon, Ariel, as a new MMA fan, wondering what would be the top 5 cards that are absolute must-sees for a new MMA fan. Oh my gosh, this stuff. Golly. UFC 189 was great. UFC 100 was fun. 200 was a little wacky, but also fun. The Dublin card, the one, the one in London this past, I don't want to pick one from 2 weeks ago, but honestly, with the energy, it was great.
UFC 144.
144, of course, who could forget? Benson Henderson, Frankie Edgar. I've been thinking about that one a lot lately. UFC 116 was a tremendous one, headlined by Shane Carwin versus Brock Lesnar. The whole card was great. So those are a few. Wow, another question for GC. This is from Jake. I have a question for GC. GC, do you have any superstitions related to your sports betting? I'm in a little bit of a cold streak and looking to get back on track.
Not as far as like breaking a streak, but I do get very superstitious. Like if the tides start turning and I had just moved a seat or gone to a bathroom or something, or like if I like muted the TV and then the tides start turning for me, I won't turn the volume back on. Yeah, I get kind of superstitious. As far as breaking a streak, no,
Yeah.
I don't have any superstitions with that.
Frank, we get some breaking news? Some potentially good news here for our pal Chael Sonnen. Just saw this through the wire. Chael Sonnen received positive news at an amendment hearing in Las Vegas regarding an alleged incident this past December that had him facing multiple charges at a hearing Wednesday that took place in the Las Vegas Justice Court. Prosecutors dropped a felony charge and 4 misdemeanor counts against Sonnen in relation to an alleged attack committed by Sonnen at a Four Seasons hotel in Las Vegas on December 18th. The Las Vegas Review-Journal reports. You can read more from our man A.K. Lee on MMA fighting, but I just saw this and wanted to read that. Let me go back to the questions. What is next for Jose Aldo? I hope Dominic Cruz. Nolan. That was from Tip. Nolan. Hello, Ariel. Never got to say this to you, but Happy New Year. Well, thanks. Jeez. Happy New Year on March 30th. Tremendous. If you had to pick one fighter to introduce a new fan to, which would you pick? Ooh, wow. Again, I say Izzy. I think Izzy has it all. But it depends on the kind of style of fighter. You know, Usman, Khamzat. I mean, you could be a zombie guy. Petr Yan. Justin Gaethje. Yuri. Francis. Aspinall. Max Holloway, he says. That's a good one. But how many does he have left? Ariel, do you play chess from Penny, my good pal? The game of Kings and Queens online. If so, my handle is Professional Breather on Chess Time app. I think it's time. Golly. Penny is challenging me to a chess match. My son Walter is a great chess player. I'm comme ci, comme ça. Probably the weakest, other than Claire in the family. I would rank them wife, Jacqueline, Walter, Oliver, myself, Claire. Halloween, best and worst candy. Never was a fan of the candy corn. Love a mini Twix. Love a mini Reese's. Love a mini Snickers. What about you, GC?
Kit Kat and Reese's, top two.
Worst?
Charleston Chew. For some reason you got that.
Bounty?
Joe says Almond Joy. I love Almond Joys, actually.
Don't love it.
I actually, surprisingly, I like Dots. A lot of people hate Dots.
Wait,
Shout
what
out
are
to
Dots?
Dots.
Candy corn?
No. Dots are like, they're like little like hard
Gumdrops.
gummies.
Yeah.
Nah, those are whack. What about you, Frank?
Reese's.
What is Reese's?
Wow, Reese's. I'm a Reese's guy.
What is Reese's?
Charleston Chew. Come on.
Wait. You pronounce it Reese's?
That's how I pronounce it.
Golly.
Reese's.
You were on the
I'm
Team
with you.
Demi.
The entire control room is looking at me right now. Like,
Yeah.
You were on Team Demi, and now you're calling it Reese's.
And Joe agrees with me.
That it's called Reese's?
Yeah.
It's called Reese's.
Even
Yoon
Yoon
is
is very
Reese's.
confident that I'm wrong.
Yes. I mean, come on.
It feels good to be king of the cast right now, knowing it's Demi and Reese's.
Demi
The only
disagree.
consistently correct one.
And then flavored Tootsie Rolls, like the fruity ones. Those are awesome.
Never tried those. I mean, I think I've only tried like the original.
Then we're going to find out they don't actually exist.
Yeah,
I was
they
wrong about it.
Sean, hey Ariel, new subscriber. I was wondering if you have any information on when the UFC is coming back to New York, not just MSG, but an Albany fight at Golly. I don't know if you're getting a lot of those. You know, when they made the deal and they pushed so hard, they campaigned so hard to get the sport legalized in the state of New York, they promised that they would come here X amount of times. And I think they fulfilled those promises. Obviously, the pandemic may have changed things, but I honestly think they fulfilled it before the pandemic. So, you know, fight night in Albany or Rochester or Syracuse, not exactly at the top of the to-do list. Not saying I wouldn't want one there, but, you know. Abby, no question here. Just love how Chael got on stage, roasted a bunch of trained fighters at the MMA Awards, and no one dared to step up and slap the bad guy. Still undefeated. Legend. Ariel, any O'Malley update? No. Maybe International Fight Week, but TBD. Would love to see him against Yanez. GC, at what point do even the hardcore Khamzat believers have to take Burns' money line because the value is just way too good?
That's what I'm saying. I got Khamzat at like minus 320, and he's sitting at what? Like minus 700 now?
Really?
No. Minus 475 on DraftKings. Minus 600 at some books. Gilbert Burns, you can get at plus 450.
That's crazy.
20-4 Gilbert Burns.
Do me a favor. Reach out to Gilbert Burns and see if he'd come on the show on Monday. We'll talk about this.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, thanks. Who's Jake Paul fighting in August? This is from Jason, TBD. I don't even think he knows, to be honest. The MMA Hour had thumbnails of you in some cartoon animation. I don't know why I noticed this. Now it's gone. Why did it go away? Oh, that was the Robert Pearson thing? Just, you know, that was the deal, 6 months. But you'll see him around. Don't worry. If you did a smoker, who would be in your corner? Wow. I'd probably go DC Chael and Eric Nixick. Would you like to see one sanctioning body in MMA? And if so, how do we get there? Golly. Can we start with open scoring? But yes, I would love to see an American national commission as opposed to different states. 100%. How come Bellator doesn't host events in Vegas? Good question. There are some who believe that there's a conspiracy there. I won't be the conspiracy theorist. I've heard they have plans, though. I've heard some plans, so we'll see if it comes to fruition. Isaac, the deal Ali has for Askarov seems like collusion with the UFC and Dominance MMA. That's why promoters shouldn't be involved with booking fights. Askarov? My question is there any question that we're not asking that you should be? I feel like you have juicy details on something, but we're not asking the right questions and need to be led guided for a few hints. Askarov made $12K on his second contract as a number 2 ranked fighter. Dawkins made $80K. Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know about that. Listen, there's a ton of there's a ton of conflicts in this sport. The sport, as I slip off my chair, doesn't seem to deal with the same. Let me take that back. Doesn't have to deal with the same rule set as in boxing. For example, in the sport of boxing, you cannot be a manager and promoter. You can't. And that's the issue that I brought up last week with Graham Boylan, who's managing all these fighters, signs them to Cage Warriors, signs them to his management team, and then funnels them to the UFC. In fact, go look up Ross Houston and Soren Bach, 2 guys who were a part of that system in Cage Warriors, had to buy themselves out in order to go to Bellator. That's how one way this is. And then I think it was on Thursday or Friday, old Graham went on social media and started talking about how pathetic my life is, that I have to talk about him to get clicks and all this stuff. And it made me laugh because, first of all, no need to get personal. I'm just talking about the surface level stuff. I'm not digging deep. I'm not talking about personal things. You want to go there, you can go there. I'm talking about the sport, the business of the sport. That's all fair game if you ask me as someone who's sitting in my chair, bringing up these things, asking these questions, wondering about these things. But this notion, I love the notion of clicks. Like, first of all, the notion that I have to talk about the head of Cage Warriors for clicks is ludicrous because no one's tuning into the show to hear me talk about Cage Warriors or him in particular. That's number one. Number two, the notion that media does things only for clicks is ludicrous in its own right because, again, as I said on Monday, clickbait is actually misused often. Clickbait is you wouldn't guess what Kim Kardashian did to Kanye West. Click here to find out. That's clickbait. But me sitting here and doing a show, which, by the way, I get not an extra penny if 10,000 people or 20,000 people or 40 or 50 or 5 people watch, make no money off of it. The notion that I'm sitting here talking about the intricacies of the sport in order to make more money and to draw people to click in is absolutely ludicrous, especially coming from a guy who's a promoter whose job it is quite literally to sell people to pay and watch his fights, to sign up for UFC Fight Pass, to buy tickets to watch your fight. If anyone is clicking, baiting people, it's promoters. You are trying to sell people to buy fights. And you would say the same, I wonder, to a filmmaker. Filmmakers make movies in order for people to buy tickets to watch their movies to make money, right? That's what the whole point of this game is. Same with someone who works in the book business. Well, you just write a book, out of the kindness of your heart? No, you write a book so people buy the book and you make money off of it. Someone who's in the magazine business, someone who's in the TV business, someone who's in the streaming business, no one's doing this for free. No one's doing it for the love of the game. No one is, especially not fighters and fight promoters and managers. Everyone's trying to make a buck. Everyone's trying to sell you on something. So this idea that, look, let me tell it to you like this. Anyone in the public eye, especially in this business, who is trying to deflect from truth being said about them by claiming clickbait, by claiming you're pathetic, by claiming you're a loser, you're this or that, all they're doing is deflecting. Refute what I said. And by the way, I feel like I was pretty respectful and kind. Refute what I said. Tell me if anything was wrong. Tell me if anything was incorrect, not factual, and I'll be happy to hear it. But all that I heard was, and it's the same with Ali and everyone else who you say things about that are true, not unfair, not below the belt, not inflammatory, just the truth, which sometimes the truth isn't pretty, but I would argue they put themselves in that situation for the bucks. They will deflect by claiming fake news, clickbait, this and that. They'll never actually refute the facts, but they'll say, this is not true. You're a loser. You're clickbait. You're this and that. It's all hogwash. I can assure you of that. Nothing I said last week was inaccurate. I could say more if I want. Don't feel like it right now. But golly, the people that came out and said, it's about time someone speaks of this conflict of interest where you have someone acting as a promoter, signing people to the promotion, and then funneling them to the UFC, signing these deals that, if we're being honest, don't really seem fair for the clients. I'm arguing on behalf of Paddy Pimblett, deserving more. So I don't know why he would be upset about any of this, and I don't know if he is. Meanwhile, you're in a business relationship with the entity that you are supposed to be negotiating with. You're getting money from that streaming deal. You're telling me that there's not a ton of conflicts of interest there? And the response is clickbait? That's the response? That's the best you got? Clickbait? What clickbait? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. I want people to watch this show. No, you know what? I'd rather watch this show. I'd rather do this show when there's 5 people watching. That's way better. Like, what? What are you talking about? Of course I want people to watch the show. I'm not lying to people. I'm not hiding from things. I'm not trying to give them the old bait and switch. That would be closer to clickbait. This is just the truth. And there's a lot of these situations, like the one that this man Isaac brings up in this sport. This sport is filled with conflicts of interest. Filled with them. And by the way, I'll raise my hand. I was once in that conflict of interest with Fox. Biggest regret of my life, biggest regret of my career. I can come out and talk about it and say, you know what? I effed up. I'm comfortable enough saying that. You won't get that from a lot of the people in this sport. They won't tell you that. They'll just keep trying to make their bucks and, cut these bad deals and try to, make money from both sides of the fence. Things that in boxing, the sport that we love to point our finger at and say that sport is corrupt, that sport has problems, that sport needs to be fixed. I would argue we should point the finger at ourselves because this sport has a lot more issues than that one, especially when it comes to the fighters. Reginald, Ariel, appreciate the work, not the New York Knicks talk. For the glorious year that you did DC and Helwani, Real Digital will put out hilarious posters for each week's show. Since I now work from home, I'm looking to decorate the office. Any chance you can convince him to sell those? You'd have to hit him up. And I think ESPN probably owns them. I don't even know if they do, to be honest. Arnold, hey Ariel, thanks for always giving these fighters so much exposure. My question is simply this. Which division do you think currently the most future title contenders? Probably 55 or 35. Ariel, congrats on the undisputed openweight broadcaster championship. Do you think anyone from the UFC watches your shows? Hell yeah. Most specifically, the higher ups in the company. Hell yeah. By the way, I would say 99% of the company actually really likes me and likes the show. They're all fans. And I appreciate them.
Who's the 1%?
Come on. It's actually someone in accounting. Not a huge fan, doesn't, but you deal with it. You live with it. Hello, Ariel. I'm an avid MMA fan. I was wondering what the first step would be to become an MMA journalist. Do it on your own. Get out there. I started my own site. I reached out to people. Don't wait for anyone to give you that shot. Make it happen yourself. Curious, who are the 2 or 3 most influential people in all of MMA right now or all time? I was actually thinking of this recently. My Mount Rushmore for biggest influences in MMA history and best fighters, 2 different ones. Biggest influences, I would say, I should have wrote this down. Royce, Chuck, Connor Brock, maybe GSP for Canada, but probably Royce, Chuck, Connor, Brock. Royce, Chuck, Brock, Connor, in that order. Best fighters, PEDs and all that allowed. GSP, Anderson. This is UFC. GSP Anderson. Khabib DJ? No. GSP Anderson Jones Khabib. GSP Anderson Jones Khabib. Shalom Citizen Helwani. Who would win in a game of one-on-one basketball? You or Adam Sandler? Me for sure. Come on. Not even close. What are you talking about? What were your thoughts on the Rotang Mighty Mouse fight? I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I thought 1X was a great show. Great broadcast. I enjoyed it. Shout out to my guy, Mike Mansouri, doing great things on the production side for them. Always look forward to the MMA Hour. Happy birthday to my friend Tim Ota. Congrats on his engagement. Congrats. Ariel, International Fight Week will be my first UFC event, and it takes place on my birthday. I'm thrilled to get the chance to meet the fighters, but nothing would mean more than meeting Mr. 10-7 himself. What's it going to take to get Helwani to Vegas for International Fight Week? Stay tuned. Helwani might be going back to Las Vegas. Sing it with me, Frank. We're going back to Las Vegas.
You could just say Vegas.
We're going back to Sin City.
Oh, I like that one.
What went down in Houston? I'm sorry, I spoke about this, and one day I will speak about it again, but now's not the time. Favorite segment of the week, 2 questions. Any chance of you and the Morning Combat guys doing something in the future? We did something in December. Oh, he said he saw that. Nothing on the table at the moment. I don't think they can handle this machismo that I possess. GC, if Frank actually comes to the UFC party next Saturday, will you splurge for better pizza than Domino's?
Better pizza. He's promised buffalo chicken dip. He's saying he's coming.
Wow.
And there's a peace treaty on the line if he does show up.
What is the peace treaty?
I don't know if I want to reveal it right now.
Frank, do you want to?
No.
All right.
Hey, no, Frank already knows.
We know something you don't.
I will make my announcement of who I'll be rooting for at Serrano Taylor because Frank is heavily invested in it.
Really? There's some betting involved?
I mean, I'm sitting in the hole. I gotta pick it back up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Bonjour, Lord Ariel. Did you know that when 2 black holes collide, the gravity is so immensely strong that stars can be ejected out of the black hole's gravitational orbit at speeds of 100,000 kilometers per second? This phenomenon is known as hypervelocity stars. The universe is filled with billions of these nomad hypervelocity stars zipping around in the darkness of the interstellar space at 1/3 the speed of light. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you for that. What's up, Ariel? With WrestleMania being days away, I wanted to get your perspective on the relationship between MMA and pro wrestling. It seems like a lot of MMA fans try to shut it out. Bizarre. I'm not sure why it seems like everyone is forced, because I could tell you why. They all were wrestling fans. It makes them feel weird that the roots of mixed martial arts are firmly entrenched in the world of pro wrestling. If there wasn't pro wrestling, there wouldn't be MMA, and that's, I think, an undeniable fact, and you could see the influences till this day, and it makes them feel a little weird that this sport that they love so much has, all these influences and is really a byproduct of the quote-unquote fake stuff. That's why. But let's be honest. That's the truth. What's the latest from WFL? It was interesting when they were on the show, but haven't heard much. I don't know. I've heard a little bit here or there. Jury's still out of my mind. Not sold. And I said this. I've said this to them. Fabricio, GRP in the house. Respect. As we get ready for WrestleMania, had a quick question. How long do you anticipate Stone Cold's quote-unquote match will be? I say around 20 to 25 minutes. And I think it goes last. It better go last. It's the most interesting thing on that night. That or the Rollins-Cody Rhodes. We presume it's Cody Rhodes' match. With Dustin seemingly moving on from the Diaz fight on Twitter and Conor and Nate going back and forth, when can we assume it happens? I don't know. They're holding him. I don't want to say hostage, but he's on the sidelines. Maybe November. I don't know. So much can happen between now and then. Do you have any information or guess on who Robert Soldich would fight? It's not a done deal just yet, but they did have a good talk in London. Let's see how it goes. I think it's too early to speculate. Keep up the great work, and greetings from Montenegro. Did the fighters get a cut from the Project Rock deal? I don't believe so. How's your wife's hand? Thank you. My wife's hand is doing much better. I appreciate that. Also, I was thinking back to the London card and how exciting it was. When you're watching events like that, do you have much physical reaction to crazy knockouts, or do you stay seated? I mean, at home, I pretty much stay seated, but you get excited. In honor of New York Rick giving us one of the worst takes possible, Reese Smith Rock, maybe the worst take on your show since his Rousey being the comeback fighter of the year. That's what I said at the beginning of the show. I'd like to know what you think your most unpopular MMA and non-MMA opinion is. Oh my. That's tough. Most unpopular. I mean, seems like a lot of the fans and media don't like my open scoring idea. I can't really think. Maybe New York Rick can remember one, but I can't really think. Hey, Ariel, I just have 2 quick ones for you today. Rank these 3 fighters, 1 to 3, on who you think is most likely to become champion. 1 being most likely. Sean O'Malley, Patty, Ian Gary. I'll go Ian, Sean, Patty. Second question is, does Volk get an immediate rematch if he loses? He should. Gilbert Burns said in a recent interview with Luke Thomas that he had been training with 2 Dagestani fighters who requested to be unnamed. Any idea who these guys are? No. Have a great time in Dallas. Thank you. If the UFC were to come back to Pittsburgh, who would be the ultimate headliner? There's no real great one. I did enjoy that one event with Nate Marquardt there. Well, he was supposed to be on the card, and then he got pulled, and Charlie Brenneman fought Rick Story. Crazy, 11 years ago. Now that UFC 275 was officially announced, International Fight Week is next. Who do you think headlines? Probably Izzy. Just wanted to thank you for sharing EKC's journey. A few months ago, the show inspired me to start learning BJJ, something I thought I'd never do. Hearing EKC's story makes me want to do more of it now. And to anyone else that watches these shows and thinks, man, I want to learn a martial art, but I can never do that, don't limit yourself. Take that leap of faith. You won't regret it. Respect Trey. Hot take, Leon beats Usman by submission or points. How about that? Great interview with MJF, but remind me of the Sasha Banks interview. 100% refuses to put down the gimmick. No, I disagree. He did it in a very sort of charming and endearing way and gave us a lot of stuff where you're kind of questioning, is it real or is it not? Sasha was 1,000% working and didn't give an inch at all. And there was nothing endearing or charming about any of it. So couldn't disagree more. What are your thoughts on Thug Nasty's path right now? Featherweights are stacked. I mean, I think he's going to get like a top 6 or 7 guy. Do you know of any up-and-coming Canadian fighters that might break into the scene? Not a ton at the moment. There's a few here or there, but there's no like Rory or GSP that I know of right now. Want to give a shout out to Robert Pearson for the work he's done for DC and wanting the MMA Hours. Artwork was always something that I looked forward to. Respect. P.S. The MMA Hour belt looks better than the ESPN one. Yeah, I agree. I was wondering how you managed to remain optimistic in the face of adversity when you encounter hostile people that don't even want to consider constructive criticism and would rather tear you down and force their ideology. Sounds like people I was just talking about. Lastly, do you see passion as a skill? 1,000% yes to that one. And basically, at some point I decided I'm not going to let other people dictate how my story unfolds, how my life unfolds, how my career unfolds. Just because they're miserable, just because they don't like me, just because they don't want me to succeed, doesn't mean that I'm going to let them do that. Because again, as I said a couple of weeks ago, our minds are not hotels. We don't let people come in, check in, and just squat there. All right? We don't give them that privilege. That's not how this works. And it will never work that way.